Melody, Shari, Marsa, Scott, and more will leave you stunned. Recently, Carlos King went live with Claudia Jordan and Dustin, and during that conversation, he dropped a major bomb. According to Carlos, he does not believe Martell Holt is really planning to marry Ariane Curry. He explained that Martell calling her his fiancée is just casual talk, the same way some people refer to a partner as their wife or husband without being legally married. Carlos made it clear this title doesn't mean Martell is engaged. And it certainly doesn't mean a wedding is on the horizon. The way Carlos explained it made perfect sense. When someone truly wants to do something, they don't drag their feet, they act. Martell has had years to make Arione his wife. Yet all we've seen from him is hesitation, procrastination, and excuse after excuse. That alone speaks volumes. Arione, on the other hand, has stood by Martell through years of humiliation. She has watched him publicly argue with Melody on national television and still convinced herself that Martell is the prize. But let's be real, Martell Holt hasn't proven to be a prize to anyone. Not Melody, not Arione. I'm certainly not to fans who've witnessed his behavior season after season. What's worse is that Arione has sacrificed her self-worth for a man who thrives on control. Melody never allowed Martell that kind of power over her, which is why he could never keep her in a box. She had her own vision, her own strength, and her own independence. That's why she walked away and is now flourishing, winning awards, running successful businesses, selling out products, and living a life where she's clearly thriving. Meanwhile, Martell is still desperately trying to maintain the image that he has it all together. While Ariane continues to wait for a promise that may never come, Carlos's comments didn't just stop with Martell and Ariane. He also touched on Trisha and Ken, newer faces on the show, whose relationship is also raising eyebrows. Trisha proudly stated that Ken pays all the bills. But the truth soon came out that while he covers the mortgage, everything else is split 50-50ths. Fans weren't impressed and even accused Ken of financial manipulation, pointing out that constantly reminding your partner of what you do for them isn't love, it's control. That behavior mirrors Martell's patterns, proving that these men love to talk about what they provide while dodging real accountability, all while the women carry the emotional weight. What makes this situation even more interesting is how it ties back to the larger cast. The dynamics of money, power, control, and image have always driven love and marriage. Huntsville and Carlos exposing Martell only adds fuel to the fire. Carlos is strategic. He knows fans are tired of Martell's repetitive storylines. That's how he put it out there. Don't expect a wedding because it's not happening. Instead, Martell uses the illusion of marriage as a way to keep Arione loyal and silent. As long as she believes a ring is coming, she won't rock the boat. In reality, Martell has been dangling empty promises to keep her exactly where he wants her, compliant, invested, and waiting. The fans, however, are no longer fooled. After Carlos's live, the comments section lit up with people saying Martell would never marry Arione, that she needs to wake up and that she's wasting her life being strung along. Many pointed out that she gave Martell her loyalty, her youth, and even her reputation. Yet she has nothing to show for it except a title he doesn't mean. Some joked that Martell would only propose when pigs fly, while others said the only ring Arione will get is a podcast deal. The shade was harsh, but it came from a place of frustration. Fans are tired of watching Martell dodge accountability, and Arione continued to defend him. And here's the theory that's gaining traction. Carlos knows there will never be a wedding, so he's preparing the next best storyline, the breakup. If Martell and Arionne's situationship falls apart on camera, it would bring the type of ratings that only a messy breakup can. Imagine the fallout, Arione finally realizing she's been strung along for years, Martell losing yet another piece of his carefully crafted image, and Melody continuing to thrive on the other side, unbothered and successful. The contrast would be undeniable. Melody winning while Martell and Arionne's house of cards collapses. Through it all, Melody Shari remains the blueprint, the woman who broke the cycle. She walked away from Martell's chaos, built her own empire, and prove that thriving doesn't require staying stuck in a man's mess. Fans root for her because she showed the strength Arione has yet to find. Meanwhile, Martell's so-called engagement has been exposed as smoke and mirrors. And Arione continues to cling to a promise that isn't real. Carlos knows it, the fans know it, and sooner or later, Arione herself will have no choice but to face it. Because on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, the truth always comes out tanned when it does. The fallout is brutal. And that's exactly why this latest revelation from Carlos King is shaking the table in such a big way. It's not just about Martell and Arione. Anymore, it's about the pattern that keeps showing up in Huntsville. Men selling dreams, women carrying the weight, and the public finally connecting the dots. Martell dangling a fiancé title with no intention of marriage isn't just manipulation, it's strategy. He gets to keep Arione loyal, distracted, and silent, all while maintaining access to her whenever it benefits him. And the saddest part? Arione continues to play into it, believing she's next in line when, really, it's just being kept on standby. Meanwhile, Melody is living proof of what happens when you refuse to settle for crumbs. Her growth is undeniable. She's glowing. She's winning. And she's too busy stacking blessings to worry about Martell's mess. That's why fans see her as the real storyline. The comeback, the globe, the woman who turned pain into purpose. And in contrast, Martell and Arion's situationship looks more like a cautionary tale every season. So, now the question isn't whether Martell will marry Arion yet. How long she'll keep waiting for something that will never happen. Will she continue to defend him against the world? Or will she finally see what Carlos, the fans, and even the cast have been hinting at all along, that Martell's promises are empty? His loyalty is fleeting, and his idea of love is just another form of control. One thing's for sure. Huntsville is watching, and when this facade finally crumbles, the fallout will be explosive. Because in this game of love, marriage, and reality TV, the truth isn't just revealed. It's exposed for everyone to see. And here's where things get even deeper. The ripple effect of Martell's choices doesn't just impact Arione. Shifts the entire narrative of love and marriage. Huntsville. When one storyline crumbles, another one rises, and right now, the audience is watching two completely different paths unfold. On one side, you have Melody Shari flourishing in her businesses, securing global recognition, and showing what it looks like to truly level up after heartbreak. On the other, you have Martell and Arione stuck in the same cycle of secrecy, excuses, and broken promises. The contrast is glaring. It's exactly what keeps fans glued to their screens. Carlos King knows the power of that contrast. That's why he dropped the bomb so casually, almost daring Martell to prove him wrong. But deep down, Carlos understands that Martell has no real intention of proving anything, because proving something would require action, accountability, and commitment, three things Martell has consistently avoided. Instead, he hides behind charm and empty titles, hoping fans will stay invested in the illusion. But the fans aren't buying it anymore. They're calling Martell out, calling Arione out, and even calling Carlos out for continuing to feed the storyline. And while the viewers drag Arione for holding on to false hope, there's also a growing sense of pity. People see a woman who gave up her power, who sacrificed her dignity, and who traded her peace for the promise of a ring that may never exist. They see her as a living reminder of what happens when you believe words over actions. And so the stage is set. Melody thriving, Martell scrambling, Arione waiting, and Carlos pulling the strings to keep the audience hooked. The big question is, when the dust finally settles, who will walk away with their image intact? Because on this show, one thing is guaranteed. The truth always comes out. And when it does, it doesn't just bruise egos, it shatters illusions. And that's where the real suspense begins. Fans are already speculating on how the dominoes will fall once Martell's facade collapses. Will Arione finally snap out of it and expose everything she's been holding back, giving Carlos exactly the explosive content he's waiting for? Or will she continue to defend Martell, even as the cracks in their so-called engagement grow too big to ignore? Either way, the fallout has the potential to shift the direction of love, and marriage, Huntsville entirely. The ripple effect doesn't stop with them. It will also touch the other cast members. Marsa and Letitia Scott, Morris and Kimmy. Even the newer faces, like Trisha and Ken, all end up being measured against Martell and Arionne's dysfunction. The way these relationships play out on camera either highlights growth, like Melody's, or exposes more cracks, like Arionne's. And in a show built on the themes of love, marriage, business, and betrayal, every storyline is connected. What makes this even more gripping is how fans are now reading between the lines. They see Martell not as a man in love, but as someone desperate to control a narrative he's already lost. They see Arione not as a future wife, but as a pawn in Martell's N.